ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community.
Wanda P's on a mission to ROC, restore our community. Assuming the task, taking on the responsibility. One block at a time, one young mind at a time. We have to strive.
I'm Wanda P, and this is Restore Our Communities. My very special guest today is none other than Mr. Brandon Woodlock, real good friend. And he has written a book, and I cannot believe, A Good Man by Definition. Brandon, tell our viewing audience who you are and what is your purpose and why did you write this book?
Again, my name is Brandon Woodlock. The book was inspired by my 8 sisters. And initially, one of them went through a pretty bad breakup. Okay. And I felt that because her father wasn't in the picture, that as her older brother, that it was my responsibility to step in and tell her what I knew of men and what I believe a good man is, in order to kind of shine some light on what she should be looking for.
Okay, because this is going to go along. What you know? I mean, how old are you? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, come on. I mean, let's talk about some experience then, because that's a very, very good question. And I'm at a place right now. I think this may be kind of what do they call it? Therapeutic for me at this point, because I just want to make sure that it's not me. Because being a woman, you know how it's been said, you know. A strong, especially a sister, that's real strong, she's domineering and stuff like that, you know. I understand that there is a level of compatibility. So where do we draw the line there when we're talking about the definition of a good man? How would a good man know this, you know, strong woman? You understand that question?
Please understand what you're asking me. I think that within the African American community, we have been raising our women to be very strong.
Yeah.
To be very independent, to be very forthright, honest, blunt. I think that sometimes we miss the characteristic of how to love because there's been so much love lost.
Sure.
So I believe that with books like these and ones alike, that we kind of bring back the understanding of how to love, not just yourself, but a black man as well, or whoever you choose in that manner. But I think that when you are such a strong person, you are so independent that it's very difficult sometimes to give up some of that control, some of that understanding, and to have to trust someone who you really may not fully understand how they function. So I believe that
that's quite interesting that you said this, and what inspired you was a sister, and I'm sure there are other women that you can also relate that with, you know, in that respect. I remember, and I've shared this story before, a young lady was married. She cheated on her husband with a woman, and she was confused, you know. She was in the church and things of this nature, and I remember us all going out, a little group, trying to give her a little love, show her a little love, and just a little comfort. And I just want a good man. She just I just want a good man. So throughout the conversation, she would just say certain things. So one of the questions I would ask her, why would a good man want you? You know, you have to ask, and it wasn't being sarcastic, I wasn't being facetious when I asked her the question, but with where she was confused by going back home with her husband, and she had been sheltered, had been in the church, you know, pretty much all her life, and so she was kind of confused in that area. So she was like, when she went into the world and got a little bit more experience, or that kind of experience, I think that's a world that you have to be kind of careful with anyway. And when you step off into that, you're just really crazy. So why would a good man want you? And help the sisters out. Why would a good man want? Why would a good man, by definition, pick a woman?
I believe that, sisters, first off, you understand that confidence is key. I believe that anything that you all do, regardless of how your hair looks, how you dress, when you do it with confidence, we see that and we feed off of it, and we love to see it.
Wow.
So that's one of those things I believe I touched on it in the book as well. It's about not necessarily just confidence, but understanding beauty, because I think society has so many different definitions of what beauty is. I think you have to define it for yourself, which I touch on as well. Just thinking beautiful, controlling your thoughts, understanding that you first have to feel this way about yourself and think this way about yourself in order to exude what you want to attract. So if you are thinking beautiful, you're feeling beautiful, you are exuding that, and we as men see that and we attack that, and that's what we continuously go after.
You know, Brandon, this is so ironic. I go back and recycle, you know, some of the tapes I get, you know, from the church, you know, and one of the CDs I'm just listening to, and I had to listen to it over and over again, like I said, because of where I am right now. So it's right on time to just go and find some CDs, and that's one of them. And Bishop Walker was talking about relationships. And it was just ironic when he gave the scenario of man, origin, Adam, and gave all that definition. And how Adam was given the authority to name all the animals, the beasts, and he related the beast to the human race, the beast, you know. And when I heard part of that message, it talked about we women, because he was talking about single people, because I think it was around Valentine's Day or something, and he was talking about us, you know, especially when it's single, that you're married, I think you kind of just have to work what you have. But being single, you have choices at this point. And for a woman, and he said, how would you look having a beast on your arm? Because he was describing the beast when Adam, you know, named all the animals and whatever, but none of them he ever called wife.
All right.
He never called any of those beasts wife. So when the rib, he put the sleeve, he got the rib, and they woke up and saw this beautiful woman there. When we equate that, I thought about that in relationships today, how he said, now how do you look with a beast on your arm? So listen to that story and looking at some of the relationships that we see, mismatched people with people that they're trying to tame, a beast who is not even inhabitable. Someone that has that beast mentality can't even come home. You call him, where is he? Every 15 minutes you call on him. So it was just ironic that we were talking about relationships and really the respect.
Right, exactly.
Out of that.
Huge. Respect is ridiculous. You know, it's so many different definitions of respect that people have. I think before you get into any relationship, the first thing you should do is discuss what your definition of respect is versus my definition, so that we can decide as a couple what our definition is.
Well, do you agree though? And I heard him say this also in there. Men, he said, he went to the man law, okay, and kind of gave some secrets out. One of the things is, it just pretty much in a matter of a few minutes in a conversation, you already know from the conversation if that person's going to be a friend, if she's going to be, stop by, holler at you every now and then, you know, one of those type of calls, you know, late night thing. Or is it going to be someone that you want to call wife? So men, is it true that men actually can have a conversation with a woman and a female woman and realize in a short amount of time, because I know we as women, we got that secret too, guys, so we know.
I think as men, we know, I'm not sure if we know as far as wife material, but I think we have an idea of what we would like to pursue with this woman. I think that we look at her dress, we hear her speech, we see what kind of presence she brings, we think about her conversation and her love and how she would adore us and whatnot. And I think we kind of go from there. But I think it's more to it than just the initial meeting, because you can tell in our society currently, you know, as far as the divorce rate and how many people stay together for 10 and 12 years without actually making that commitment to one another, that there's something missing that wants to make that man say, you know what, this is the woman that I want to be with.
Right, and to me, I believe in the law of the body. I've been called names for making a statement like, you know, I do need a man in my life. Some women say, well, I don't need a man in my life to find me, you know, neck action and all this other stuff. You know, that's not God's order. You know, and then when you look at the body, the way the body is, the head is not trying to be the feet. The fingers aren't trying to be the toes. The elbows aren't trying to be the knee. Every part of the body is in order. And when it's out of order, you're aching or something's not right, you know. And I do believe the order in which God created us, we are supposed to be that way, but we're so out of whack now because you got, as we look at, I wouldn't want to be the president, I wouldn't want to be the person making decisions on certain things, because when it comes down to relationships and procreating and things of that nature, when we're out of order, how, you know, how can we make those things happen? I don't want to get into a controversial subject, but, you know, women going with women, men are going, and they're loving it, and it's the thing to do. I'm hurt, or, you know, this happened to me as a child, so I want to go this way. And y'all used to think it was 10-1. Not anymore.
That's a deep subject to talk about. I think that people are doing now what makes them happy, or what they believe makes them happy. I don't think anyone gets up and makes a decision that they believe is going to make them unhappy. So if they're hurting in one scenario, they believe that this is going to make them happy. I think they make that decision. You know, whatever your morals or your beliefs are, it kind of should be guiding you. But again, if those have been shaken and you don't have enough strength to stick with them, then you will venture off and do other things that may or may not be what you should be doing.
And what I love about, when I see a good man by definition, especially with African American men, there have been so many disservices for you. I think about my son, I think about my brother, my father, you know, the men in my family. And some of it, you know, they brought upon themselves, you know. However, when I see so many men taking care of their children these days, you know, that's something that you don't normally, and then there's still some deadbeat dads, deadbeat moms now. But when I see men kind of in certain roles they're reversing, you know, that gives hope, but we don't focus a lot on that.
People don't want to necessarily hear that. They kind of want to go with
The
status
negative.
quo. Negative is always one of the most ironically positive things to talk about because it's widespread. But there are many African American men who are great fathers and are good men by definition. I believe that there need to be more. There need to be more. I think that we have to cultivate that. That's something that the few who are doing that is because whatever situation they came from, they were cultivated to be that good man. But I think that those of us who did not have fathers or did not have role models have to come to a point in our life where we say, you know what? I don't want to repeat what my father did. I don't want to repeat what my grandfather did, and so on and so on, and I want better for my own kids. So we have to put together a blueprint for ourselves so that we can get out of that bad cycle and get into what we need to be in so that we can, as a community, uplift each other.
And you know, this is deep. I'm gonna probably take it and curve it a little bit. One of the things I can say, just even meeting the men in your family, married, they're taking care, and you know, and your uncles, how they come back and they give back in the family. You don't really find that. So, so you really are blessed to even be in a family where the men are really being men, and you see the Huxtables. There's a few of the African American families that the men are doing some things, but not to put down the ones that are not. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But when I think about that, it brings us back to date, and here we are, 2013. I don't know, try to get my dates or whatever, but we're living, and we just know what happened with Trayvon Martin, and then what happened with his dad. What can you say, as we're talking about the definition of a good man, to let our young people know, because a lot of them are still asleep because they've been given too much. And I'm guilty of that myself, but I'm glad to see that my son is now 25 years old and on the move of trying to do some of the right things. I still kind of get on things, but what can you say to some young men today to let them know this is real? 2013, they're still killing you.
It's happening. I believe that there's very little you can say to someone who does not want to be receptive. I think that those of us who understand what's going on have to continuously be examples of what we need to see more of. Because, you know, you continuously talk, they're not going to listen. If they're not in a point to where they're ready to receive what you're trying to say. Again, continue to be the example. And always understand that you're always being watched, regardless of where you are, what time it is, who you with. People are always watching it. If you want to be the example, always be the example. And you have to realize that you cannot go back on your word because hypocrisy is so huge and people look at that and always point the finger back at you and say, well, you're doing this, you're not doing what you said you're supposed to be doing. So that gives me a reason not to strive to be better.
And you know what, even though we're talking about the good men, that was an excellent explanation, because there's no other way, because even when we look at our Heavenly Father, He gives us instructions, He guides us, and He's, you know, spared our lives in so many ways, and we still find ourselves reverting back. So we're no greater than God, obviously. So we can't, if He can't get our attention most of the time like He needs to, you're right, lead by example. And that even goes even toward the women, because I can't help talk about the women, we talk about the men, because there's so many of us that we are responsible. I was watching, flipping through the channels, and watching these rappers, and I don't even know what channel it was, but they were on talking, and it was, oh God. And they were talking about, I'm not responsible for your child. And I think this one guy, activist in the community, he was really fighting, letting them, or trying to get them to see that your influence, we understand that you're not in our household, but you have a certain responsibility of the material that you're putting out, and you are an influence. When you plant seeds, whether you know it or not. And they took no responsibility for what's going on with our kids, and I thought that, and I got in part of it, but I thought it was really ironic that they had no remorse in what they were doing. It was all about their gain.
I think that we live in a culture currently now where everything's about personal gain. There's very little about let's help the entire community. It's more so just about what you're doing over here versus what I'm doing over here, and who's getting to what we're trying to be the fastest. There isn't too much of let's help the next guy. So I think that, and again, this is some of the things that we have to instill in our 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16. Those age groups, we have to be more involved with our own community to let them know that these things are cool, these things are imperative that we continue to push on in our culture.
And that's very important, because I remember, it was some years ago, I remember going to the store, and you have to be mindful how you dress when you go out. As you said, you watch everything, because you may meet your husband in the grocery store, so you can't have the curls in your hair and all this other stuff.
You think that, but we actually see it when we're cousins in here and think that you're not going to say no to us. So we might approach you more if you look like you just rolled out of the bed, because we think we have a better chance of you saying yes.
Get out of the city. You actually
listen. Think about it. If you look nice and you fly and you feeling yourself, you're on top of the world. So the regular guy approaches you thinking you're gonna say, I look too good for you today. Let's keep it moving. But if you roll out of bed with your others in here, we think we have a better option. You know what? She maybe is 6 right now. Maybe she'll say yes to me right now. She has potential, but who knows? So I'm telling you, it works. Try it one time. Just try it.
Well, I have, but the thing is, I knew what I was getting though. The person the one that was attracted me, because I have done it, and I was embarrassed. Walking down, but one of the points I was making, I was a little younger, and I was going to the store, and it was one of the little young guy, holding himself. Oh, mama! It was in the summer. I was in high school. Had shorts on, but I run to the store for my dad to pick up something. And he's groping himself, but I don't think I said anything too inappropriate to him, but I just turned around and looked at him, and I said something, because I know me, I said something to him. So when I think about this little young boy, I was a teenager myself, and that's what they know. So somebody had to teach him that it's okay to grope yourself and say, mama, because I saw something in the book, you said, hey, beautiful. That's a total different contrast.
It's different, but I also explain why I call her beautiful. Because it's more than just a physical attribute. I think I explained it, the light that shines out into the public, pretty much showing her like the goodness inside of her is shining out, and that's why I call her beautiful, because I see the positive, I see the strength, the smarts, I see the understanding, I see the respect, I see the love, I see the loyalty. That's what I consider to be beautiful, and that's what I'm instilling in those that are around me, that my family. That's beauty.
So we're not talking about exterior, we're talking about interior, what's on the inside. And that is so on key, on point. I remember this family growing up, and I've probably used it as an example before, but they weren't the prettiest people, you know what I'm saying? But the mother named the girls Sweetie Pie, one of them was Cake, one of them was Lovey. They were all beautiful names, and they were beautiful women. They really were. Exactly what you're saying. And they weren't what you call the standard of, you first look at a person, oh yeah, I want that person. Because beauty's only skin deep. We know that. So that is so important for people to realize God made us. Because if we made ourselves, believe me, we'll probably mess that up. Because He's perfect in what He does. And so when we sit back and we're envious of maybe another person, what they have, God created us all. And so I love that, and and I think that's a wonderful way to even approach, you know, the opposite sex. And I think it works both ways.
Right.
That when we respect one another, because the same difference, you guys want to, you want to feel appreciated as well, because there's a feminine side. Let's talk about that.
I think that people
Not-
don't fully understand how sensitive men can be. I think women who are married know. Women who are married know. But I think now you would get into the title of being the B word or super sensitive or whatever they may call you. But you have to understand, like, if a woman truly wants to keep a man in her life, she will
Embrace that.
She will embrace that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying men should be crying every day. That's different. But I'm saying that when we do show you our emotional side, understand that we aren't going to do that too many times. So when it does happen, if we get the wrong response, you'll never see it again.
Well, you say that, and I think because I have a lot of male friends, and I learn a lot.
Sure.
Learn a lot. So much that maybe sometimes I even weigh it out because I've seen my brothers, how they date other women and how they are accepting of these multiple relationships and things that no way. Maybe I'm a little harsh in that respect because I know a little bit too much about the man laws, and I give away some of the secrets to the brothers too, on how to deal with that, so it kind of balances itself out. But for me, it's a wonderful concept because when I want to pour myself out, unfortunately, maybe, as you were saying that lesson I was listening to, you attracting the wrong people. Because that same feeling goes our way too. When you're trying to be sensitive and you have someone who's not sensitive to who you are, you open up and share stuff with them, and then they take it and use it against you. So that works both ways too. So
how soon though? Because a lot of women do it the first date. Take your whole life.
Well,
everything. So it's a lot for us to take in initially. But I feel like there should be some time to get to know him, understand him as a friend first before you open up fully to him.
And tell too much.
He may not be interested in you on that level, so he will just use it against you. So you have to decipher that.
Well, for me personally, I may have said something in the beginning, not way in the beginning, but I may have said some things in the beginning because I want you to know where I'm coming from. I'm not playing games with you. I'm just being upfront. That's the way I am. And then as I get to know who you are, because I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. And I do understand there's a sense of taking a chance when you do something like that. But when you, like you said, I'm confident who I am. I don't twist anybody's arm to ever want to be with me. I've never sliced tires. No one ever got a phone call from 911 saying that I slipped my wrist because they left.
Right.
It'll never happen, because I am confident myself. And I'm saying down the line, when you think that people know who you are, and I believe what it is, they were like, oh, I can change. This is my experience. I believe that they thought that maybe they can change me in some kind of way. I'll bend you because I'm used to dealing with women. I'm used to having women. It is not going to happen that way. So that's why I say I relate maybe too much like the brothers on that sense. And I don't want to be, I'm strong. My voice is heavy sometimes. I think I scare people off sometimes. But the real person, my real friends know who I am. And I'm not worried about not being involved, but that does go, and there are women that are like me, that are strong women, that feel like they can open up, and then I've been in circles. We're going to have a coffee table conversation around here, but it's going to be a little bit more intimate. When we talk about that, we're going to have a panel, and we'll talk more intimate about that. I'm talking about deep stuff.
I think when it comes to strong women who open up, it can be a shock. Because we see you all, and you're gung-ho, and I'm strong, and I'm here, I don't need this, I'm independent, I got one, I can do what I want to do. We embrace you as that strong woman. So when you do a complete 180 and go from being 100% strong to, oh my God, I'm crying, I need help, cuddle me, it is a shock. It is a shock. I think you have to understand that we want to be men, and we want to feel as if you're allowing us to be men. So I think there has to be some kind of smooth transition from the strong gung-ho, Wanda, to the sensitive, hold me. There's a transition there. So I think in the beginning, I'm not saying don't be who you are, but understand that you have to kind of soften that so that
Sure,
we can feel
sure.
like we're needed to be there,
Absolutely.
and you will always get the responses.
And you just said something so profound, and that's why I really appreciate my brothers, because I said, well, if I got back into a relationship, I don't want to be, I want to be possessed. I don't want to be possessed. I want to be possessed.
Right.
But I don't want someone to bring out the tiger in me. Make me purr like a kitten, you know what I'm saying? So, and we're this strong oftentimes because we've been left to be the head of the household, otherwise we drown. So if we don't, but we do have to be willing, and I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want the blind lead the blind.
Right.
And if you're not showing me that you can be that the man that you're supposed to be, I have a problem as far as a relationship, because and that's who you are. I'm not mad at you. You're just not for me. You know what I'm saying? We're just not compatible for one another. Hey, Brandon, what is the definition of a good man? I'll leave myself out of it.
I believe that the definition of a good man is should be best interpreted by the woman. I give examples of how I feel a good man should act, as far as trustworthiness, communicating, respecting each other. And by communication, I believe one of the biggest things I discuss is cheating. A lot of women ask me, well, he cheated, and why did he cheat? And I always tell them, I said, there's a surefire way to be in a relationship and to not have cheating happen.
And how is that? Dead? You dead? You ain't breathing?
Not at all, not at all.
Okay.
I believe that, and I practice this in my own relationships, and it's been foolproof since I've come up with the concept.
Okay.
One, we have to have the conversation to feel comfortable with me telling you if I feel like I'm going to cheat, and vice versa. If I feel like I can
get the urge?
Yeah, if I feel like I have an urge or an idea or even a fleeting thought to come to you and say, hey, I think that I'm having some thoughts, feeling some kind of way, we need to talk about it. Okay. One of these things is going to happen. Either we're going to break up or we're going to work through it.
Okay.
But either way, cheating is not going to occur. And in all of my instances where it has happened, whether it's been on the girl's part or my part, either we ended the relationship or we broke through it. But it's never been to the point to where one of us has cheated.
Well, now that is deep. Now you own to something here. Now you may like bottle that. Is there a way, if somebody wants to contact you, you have any contact information?
Definitely. Again, Brandon Whitlock on Facebook, Elevated Mental on Instagram, and my email is Brandon, letter N, letter S, Whitlock @yahoo.com.
And I just love this title, A Good Man, by definition, because we need that. And I want to thank you, my brother, for coming out and sharing that information with us today. Remember that God loves you, and so do we.
ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community. ROC, restore our community.
Wanda P's on a mission to ROC, restore our community, assuming the task,